1984 by Van Halen. It couldn't have been a really good title because the album's called 1984 and the year they released it was 1984. My grandmother, here's a little fact. My grandmother was really fascinated with pop culture throughout the 70s and 80s. And one story that she actually enjoyed a lot of was David Lee Roth's story. He was Jewish and he was able to combine his education while still being a rock sensation. I thought that was pretty cool. You know, you'd think your grandparents weren't really into rock and roll that much. Well, I'll tell you one thing, my grandfather sure does love Johnny Cash and Kenny Rogers. I think next time I'm allowed over at my grandfather's, I'm going to show him this album and remind him about what Grandma thought about David Lee Roth. Let's dedicate this review to the guitar player himself, Eddie Van Halen. Here's a photo of him from the album. Let's take this out. So there he is right there, Eddie Van Halen, and that's David Lee Roth, by the way. Eddie Van Halen was the last great guitar player who ever lived. The last greatest guitar player. I know there are many people that influence men and women to grab the guitar like Eddie, Mick Mars, Ace Frehley, Dimebag Darrell, and Jimi Hendrix. But when it comes to one of the most distinct sounds in music history, you know, it's Eddie Van Halen. When you take away the drums and the bass and the rhythm guitar and the electric keyboards and just listen on the guitar, Eddie's just irreplaceable. And the same thing with David. Well, I mean, yes, David Lee Roth does have his ego problems, but he's sure an entertainer, no question about it. When this album came out, it was like Michael Jackson. It just kept on going and going and going, resulting in one of the biggest tours in rock history. And speaking of Michael Jackson, who here has heard the song Beat It? I'm sure everyone by now has heard Michael Jackson's Beat It. Well, that guitar solo in Beat It was by Eddie Van Halen. When I heard that Eddie died, I was horrified. I almost dropped my phone. I actually started crying and people were all saying, "Oh my goodness, Eddie Van Halen's gone." I love him. I loved him for those 5 years. I didn't really discover rock music that much until I was fresh out of high school. And it was good timing too, because the last 5 years of Eddie Van Halen's life were also the best years of mine because I got to listen to a lot of Van Halen, Motley Crue, and Judas Priest. The last 5 years of my life have been nothing but music, jammed packed with music. Great music, whether if it's instrumental or vocal, I'm in for it, you know? You remember that feeling I tell you about where you feel like someone just gives you this giant hug when you watch something or listen to something? Well, I got that when I was listening to this album. It just didn't let you go until the album ended. In fact, actually, when the album did end, it was still holding on to me, because when that final song hit, House of Pain, the final song on the album, it was just like, wow, it's over. Let's play it again. And I'm actually listening to it right now as I review this for you. If your parents want 80s nostalgia, you should give this to them for their birthdays, Mother's Day gifts, or Father's Day gifts, because they're going to be like, oh my goodness, I remember this album so much. Oh yeah, they'll remember this album for sure. The librarian who handed this to me just kept on going on and on how much he wanted to see Van Halen live in concert, and how much he enjoyed the band when he was a little kid. When the album came out, he was 7 years old. That's what the librarian told me. It's an album that's gonna make you dance until it's over, and then it's gonna make you replay it so you can keep dancing. Good workout album? Yeah, sure, why not? But Jump is a good song to listen to when you're outside, jogging, running, or when you're walking around downtown. Just put your headset on and just be like, let's enjoy. If you're in a bad mood, I recommend you put on this album. Panama, Jump, Hot for Teacher. That's a bit of a weird title, to be honest with you. But they're all good songs. This album, like all the albums I rent from the library, they are all masterpieces. I don't think I've ever come across one album that I rented that disappointed me. I might see that one day. We'll see. So, without a doubt, Van Halen's 1984, 10 out of 10. So, if you've got a library account, I suggest you go to your library website and click on recommendations, because hopefully, I hope it's there. Not all great albums are on the library. Let's just say everyone's lucky to rent this, if you can.